Good morning and welcome to the Mini Storage Messenger's Self-Storage webinar series. I'm Poppy Behrens, publisher at Minico, and we're delighted to have you in the audience today. This is one of several informative webinars planned for self-storage owners, operators, managers, investors, developers, and other industry professionals. The sponsor of today's webinar is OpenTech Alliance, and our presenter is Robert Chiti, President and CEO of OpenTech. OpenTech is the leading developer of self-storage kiosks, and as CEO, Robert is responsible for running the company, setting corporate strategy, and continuing OpenTech's innovation and leadership in the self-storage industry. Robert has over 17 years of management experience in the technology industry, having held senior-level positions with Computer Associates, Red Brick Systems, KPMG, and Golf Switch. He also holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Illinois State University. This year does mark the 33rd anniversary of Mini Storage Messenger, providing the self-storage industry with in-depth news and information. You can subscribe to any of the publications that you see on your screen, or get more information about those publications by visiting our website at ministoragemessenger.com. We invite you to submit questions throughout today's webinar. To do so, simply type your question in the question area and click Send. Depending on the question, we will answer it either privately or to the entire group. While we'll try to answer as many questions as we can during the presentation and at the end of the webinar during the Q&A period, those that can't be answered due to time constraints will be answered by Robert once the webinar has concluded. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing on demand from our archives at ministoragemessenger.com. Today's presentation should run about 45 minutes, with the remainder of the hour open to questions. And now it's my distinct pleasure to turn the presentation over to Robert. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Poppy. This is Robert Chiti. As Poppy had mentioned, I'm here with a gentleman named Mike Sawyer. Mike is our Director of Marketing at OpenTech Alliance, has joined us in the last couple months. And has helped us put our presentation together. I wanted to start off by thanking everybody for joining our webinar, and hopefully that you'll find our presentation is valuable and interactive. We're looking forward to having some questions. One of the things that we've found in this industry is that technology moves pretty fast and self-storage operators are pretty busy. And so what we're trying to do is see if we can open up some dialogue and thought related to some of the new things going on in the industry. And see if we can provoke some conversation and people thinking about new ways of doing things in this industry. I am getting ready to learn how to run our webinar here. First I wanted to do is there we go. First thing I wanted to do is give you a quick rundown about OpenTech. We'll do our 30-second commercial. We've been in the self-service business since the day we started with our business. Self-service has been something that we have a lot of experience in, and people have traditionally thought of us probably as a kiosk company because people think of self-service being kiosk. But we've always looked at self-service as things like the internet, and basically the internet we feel is the world's largest self-service system. And so as we start to expand our business, you'll start to see now that our company actually has launched the first self-storage cloud in this industry. And what we've done is we've taken the technology and the experience we've had in our self-service systems that we've been providing as far as a kiosk goes, taken into the cloud and offering it on a bunch of different platforms. And as you can see from this slide, our new services work on mobile devices, countertops. Some of the storage directories use some of the technology we have, as well as on a facility's website. Some of our customers are using our technology there. So all the technology kind of wraps around allowing people to help themselves, as well as the call center that we run. We're there trying to help self-storage prospects, basically rent units in a fashion that they have chosen over the years, which would be through self-service. Enough of our commercial. Let's get right to it. We'd like to get some feedback from our customers, from the people on the phone call with us here, to understand how many people are actually currently renting storage units online. And the second question is, here you go, here's our poll. So if you could go ahead and select which one of those I'm trying to select yes. Do I need to do that? Oh, I don't get to vote. Keith, can you help me understand if this is if we're going to have the poll and if the poll actually shows the results?
It will in just a minute, Robert.
Okay, great. So one of the things we want to understand is how many people are actually renting units online today. And once we get our poll, we'll have a good feel from this group what their feeling is. We have been looking at doing it for several years, and it feels like what the consumers are demanding is the ability to do that kind of function. Not everybody's going to want to rent a unit online, but there are people that when they're shopping through, there you go. So 79% of the people have said no, they're not doing it, and 20% have said yes. So great. So we are seeing, I think, this trend starting to get through the industry, and that's what we're going to talk a little about today. The next question we have, if we can go back to that next slide. Not quite sure, Keith, how to get rid of the polling.
Just 1 second, Robert.
There we go. Does your policy require having to meet the person you rent to? And so it's basically like a secondary question that says, for the people that are renting online, the answer is probably no. But for the people that haven't started renting online, that we'd like to understand is one of the reasons why you don't rent online, because you have a policy that says you have to meet the person before you can rent to them. So if you could please complete the poll here, we'll see the results. There we go. Looks like the poll's been completed. Here comes our results. One second.
Just 1 second, please.
Okay. There you go. Excellent. So it looks like the idea of having to see the person is a requirement for lots of facilities, for lots of you. 53% of you have chosen that. 47% have said no, it's not, which is interesting. So I think that as we start to think about renting online, we'll have to think about if we can actually resolve that issue and still rent online at the same time. And I think that can be done, actually. We won't have any more polls now, so we'll continue through the presentation. There we go. So a couple of things we want to talk about is that having done and been involved in providing self-service solutions for people for many years, we've come across lots of issues and questions to consider when using this kind of business model, this rental model. The first thing that we think is that you should be asking yourself and you should be considering when you're thinking about renting online is will your managers embrace this new initiative? What we've learned is that managers are very important to your business, and specifically how they feel about how you want to run the business. And we've heard of good stories and bad stories related to tenant insurance. We've heard about selling retail goods. We've heard lots of different initiatives that self-storage operators have implemented in their organization, and some have been successful and some have failed. And while they're the same initiative, they fail and are successful at different properties. And we think that's typically based upon, if the manager has embraced doing this initiative. So that's one of the things you should consider as you decide to do anything related to renting online. We'll talk about how are you going to know that the person you rented to is given their true identity. I think that's something you certainly should consider. Making sure that when someone's renting online, you have all the proper information and it's truly the person that they say they are when they rent. Getting a signed lease, if that's something you have to determine if that's important to you at time of rental or if you're willing to do that at a later date. How are you going to handle your empty units? Do you want to leave all those unlocked? When will new renters be able to access the unit? Is that going to be immediately or not? Want to make sure the transactions you're doing are secure. And if you decide not to rent online, what's the downside? Are you going to be missing any opportunities to rent to people that are on your site ready to go, and because they can actually rent at a site down the street online, that they'll go do that because they want to secure the rental in this fashion? Typically, consumers are choosing the different channels they want to do business with you. In retail, there's lots of studies behind it. We've been doing a lot of research ourselves, and they have different channels they sell product through. Some of it's over the phone, some of it's online, some of it's at the store, some of it's through partners, and all those different channels, consumers migrate to the one they like best. And so by not having a specific channel like renting online, you may be eliminating some of the opportunity to rent more units. What's the benefits of renting online? I think that's important. Obviously, there's a reason why I want to do this. We think that what we've been hearing from people, and we've been looking at different industries outside of self-storage, is that when consumers are shopping online, one of the most important things to do is take them off the market. It's probably no different than when you're shopping for a house and you have some buyers or any other type of product. We find consumers online shopping back and forth, comparing prices, comparing features, those kind of things. So one of the most important things to do is as soon as they're able to make a decision or ready to, be able to help them get off the market. And so by being able to rent a unit immediately, we believe will keep them from searching and looking at other sites, which is in most cases, if they're on the internet and doing Google searches, they're going to come across probably some of the larger REITs and may get sidetracked and talking to their businesses and looking at what they have to offer. And what you want to do as soon as they get to your site, one of the benefits of running online is you can take them off the market so they don't have to look any further. You also want to make
Robert, we do have one question that has come in that maybe we can stop and answer real quickly. It is, how does the online rental process differ from the online reservation process, and how many facilities currently offer online reservations?
That's a great question, because I think a lot of people use the term rental loosely. The reservation process, and we've seen this is how the technology's migrated. The reservation process is no different than if you call the facility and try to get a reservation. If you don't charge a deposit during that reservation process, then you probably have very little guarantee that the person's coming in. And you may have issues where you have to basically hold that unit for a week or so, hoping that person does come in when you could have sold it to someone else. So in your rental process, it's pretty clear that once you've rented the unit, that account has been set up, that consumer has been moved in into your system, your property management system, and that unit is no longer on the market, and that you collect 100% of the rent, as well as administration fees or whatever else you have tied to that, deposits, insurance, those kind of things. So there is a difference. For us, I think the way to do it is you should offer all options. You should offer being able to reserve, because there's going to be some consumers that aren't ready to rent, and you don't want to lose them completely. So I think that you should look at both of them. I don't really know how many people are reserving online. I have seen a lot more on websites than I have in the past, and I think that trend's going to continue. But again, our thought is that you would go out and take the next step as well and be able to offer rentals online. And we're not different than people like Spencer Kirk. He's mentioned recently that when you have someone's attention and they're looking to rent, you need to be able to offer them the right unit for the right price at the right time. And sometimes when someone's online, what they found is that they're a different kind of buyer at that point. They're actually a lot of price-sensitive buyers online because they're shopping and they're comparing prices. When they're at your facility, price isn't as important as a lot of the capabilities of the facility, the features and amenities of the facility. So when someone's online, you have to be able to then, as we've talked about, we think the best thing to do is be able to take them off the market and do that through renting online. I think the other benefit you get is you add customer convenience. We've had our online rental systems going for about, 60, 90 days, and some of our customers have come back to us and said, oh, this is the greatest thing, whatever. And I said, well, that's interesting. What do your customers say? Why are they doing it? And so we've done some analysis on the customer that actually rents online, and what they've claimed is convenience. They felt like that they were able to do it on their schedule, and they didn't feel like they had to go through the hassle of a lot of paperwork because they were used to filling things out online and completing them there. So there seems to be an added customer convenience from the consumer's perspective. And from the operator's perspective, if you can get rentals online that you may not have gotten people to come to the facility, or they may have skipped over your site and gone to the site where they actually can rent online, then this gives you an opportunity to get more rentals. Let's talk about the process for renting online for a second, because there's some issues there that you have to make sure that you've thought through. We talked about a couple minutes ago, fraud. Identity theft is huge, and what we want to make sure is that if you're going to create an agreement and have moved somebody into a unit, provided them an access code, you want to make sure you understand they are who they say they are. You may not understand what their background is, or understand if they've been in jail or have a credit issue, but you want to at least make sure that when they fill out that document and have a lease with you, that if it says John Smith, from on Monument Drive in Phoenix, Arizona, then it is John Smith. And so one of the things we think is very important in the process is to make sure that you have some type of fraud protection. Of course, all these pieces that you're going to hear that we're talking about, we actually handle in our online system. So we'll share with you how that works a little later. The other piece is real-time interface. Your property management system is the core of your business. It has all the information related to your units, your pricing, your specials, all that kind of stuff. And so your online system needs to integrate to that completely and in real time, so that whenever someone's on your website, they're seeing exact up-to-date information about your inventory and your pricing. And to do that, you have to be able to have a real-time interface to your property management systems. People have in the past, I've seen, put up forms to say, here, you can rent a unit online or reserve a unit online. That in the last 3 or 4 years, there was a lot of that going on. Because they didn't have interfaces to the property management systems, they would kind of let the consumer think that they always had those units available. And let's face it, during the last economic downturn, we've had lots of open units. As things start to change, telling a consumer that you have a 10 by 10 for $100 available, and that be the static pricing, is not going to fly. Especially if consumers start to find out that what's on your website isn't truly real inventory, they're not going to be too excited about it, and they're not going to find your site as you're going to be hearing on Facebook and social media that you've misled someone when they get to the facility and you have to go to a 10 by 15 or try to take 2 5x5s when your website really said you had a 10 by 10. So that's pretty important. The unit inventory management stuff, this is a back office kind of issue. There's some online reservation systems, online rental systems that require you to reconfigure your unit mix on a regular basis so that you can have specific units offered online. And typically that means you have to go in and move units between unit types. We've been doing self-service rental systems for years, and so one of the things that we found is that you have to make this simple to administer for your managers and somewhat foolproof. And so your online system has to make sure that it's displaying units that are properly prepared for someone to move into them without the manager being involved. So that would mean they're either have safety lock on them or combination lock, or they have been left open and the unit has been prepped with some kind of goodie bag if you leave that kind of stuff, or a lock if you're offering that as part of your rental process. So unit inventory management is very important so that you don't get yourself caught up with your managers are spending a lot of time preparing units that either don't rent online or they rent the wrong unit online and they can't get in when they get there. When we talk about different rental processes, because we think there's different approaches, and we have customers that take different approaches. There's the approach of we want to rent a unit online, and we don't want to provide the access code. And so what we want to do is we want the consumer to come into the office, or in some cases they could certainly go to a self-service kiosk and complete the rental, where they would provide, basically provide some more identification information. Either they want to hand over your driver's license or scan it at a kiosk, and then you want to have someone actually sign the lease, either at the counter or the kiosk. And so that process is where they basically say, we're going to go through the rental process, but we're not going to complete it basically and give you access to the facility until you've come and either met someone at the facility and completed the process or done it through a self-service kiosk. The other way, which we have customers doing, are saying that we're going to go ahead and give you the access code, and if you don't come back to the office at some point to complete this process or do it through the kiosk, then we're going to shut down your access code until you do that, because they want to make sure that they rented the unit and they want to be as convenient as possible. I'm not a big fan of that, but that's certainly a way to do that. You can provide the access code, the unit number, and then let the consumer move right in. So there's a couple of different processes to think through when you're thinking about trying to do a rental online. And our software actually supports both of those environments. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually walk you through an online rental process. This is what we're going to show you here is screenshots, except for the little starburst. Those are just little comments on the side that aren't in the process. Basically, this is our demo system online, and it walks you through how you would run a unit, what it would look like. We basically co-branded this process to look like our home page, where we would have, this would be someone else's home page, Infinite Self-Storage. If you go to infiniteselfstorage.com, you'll see how we've co-branded the actual rental process to fit in their web page. But in this case, we just wanted to walk you through this so you could actually see how it works. So the first screen here shows where you have an introductory message where you can actually talk to the consumer about what they're going to do, kind of what the process is going to be about. They're going to rent the unit. You can tell them that at this page you can say that you're going to be getting into the unit, you're going to be getting an access code, or here's where you can tell them that once you rent the unit, you'll need to stop by the facility office and meet with the manager. Our system's set up so that you can actually enter in a lot of different places. In this case, we've already picked the facility, and what we're doing here is seeing the actual unit types that are available at that facility so the consumer can start to make a decision of what type of unit they're looking for. All the stuff on this screen is customizable, so the colors, the text, all can be co-branded for the specific branding of the company that you have the online rental for. In this page, they've already selected their unit type, unless I've actually done one screen too fast, but they selected their unit type. Okay, and this shows all the pricing for that unit, the administrative fee, all that kind of stuff, the basic breakdown of what it's going to cost for them to move in. It also allows them to select insurance and promotions and use coupons. So this process is similar to what you'd probably do at the counter when you're walking the customer through it. It's certainly the same thing we do at a self-service kiosk, because we offer them all these same things and let them select what they'd like to do during the rental process. So it's still very self-service oriented, but still also feature-rich, so it gives them all the options. The drop-downs, when you go online and try this out, you'll see that each of the drop-downs have additional options in them, be that either the $2,000 or higher insurance option or different promotions, or they can actually enter their coupons in here and get special pricing.
Robert, I have another question that has just come in. Do you need a kiosk to sell rentals online?
No. No, the kiosk part of this is more of a completion piece, and it's optional, as we mentioned. You can certainly rent units online and either provide the access code or just require the consumer to come to the counter and meet with the manager. What the self-service system does at the facility is it allows the consumer to kind of have the same flexibility they expected online, was they can do it on their own schedule. It also collects fingerprints, a full digital and audio recording of the person when they go through the process, because basically they rent online, they come to the kiosk, they type in their information of their name or phone number, whatever the data required to log in is, and then all they have to do then is provide other additional information. If the kiosk takes driver's licenses, then you actually would scan the driver's license. If it requires a fingerprint, you provide a fingerprint. Similar things like that. You can buy a lock from the system at that time. And then at the end, the consumer would sign the lease. Be able to present it with that signed lease, either hard copy or email or both, and proceed. So the kiosk in this case is just an added convenience and a benefit if you want to use it. In this screen here is where you would actually enter all your information. You put in the consumer puts all their information like they normally would. This is all customizable, so it's based upon the required fields and information that the facility would require during the move-in and rental process. As you can see, the asterisks on the right side there actually demonstrate which are required fields. This is something that's unique to OpenTech, and we work real hard to do this. We've integrated our application with an ID verification service. It's basically fraud protection. And this is an optional service that comes with our online rental process for INSOMNIAC Online. As you can see, what it does is it presents the consumer with several drop-down questions they have to answer. And these questions come from a very reputable fraud protection agency that does it for lots of banks, financial institutions, healthcare institutions, and so they've done a lot of work on what questions are permissible. So these are called out-of-the-wallet permissible questions. That means that if you found someone's wallet, you wouldn't be able to answer these questions. But they also don't cross over any lines related to privacy or confidentiality. So the consumer then would go through and answer these questions. Each drop-down you'll see the drop-downs actually have options in them. So they go through and look through the options, select the answers, and then the way we set it up is that they don't have to answer every one of the questions correctly. They have to get a certain number of them correctly, which based upon the fraud and protection companies told us will pretty much identify they are who they say they are. So this part we think is a very important piece of anything you're doing online is to validate who you're doing business with. Once they've gone through the process, we'll present the customer or consumer with their lease. As you'll see, their lease is completely filled out. This is just a sample lease that we use internally. It's not very pretty, but you go through the process, and it's already completed with all the information we've collected already. At the bottom, it has some additional, they're very hard to read in this case, but they're called, we call them approval bullets in the self-service business at the facility. But in here, these are called PreQualifiers, so the consumer has to agree to these terms before they move forward. And again, you can scroll down and see the whole entire lease so the consumer can see everything, as well as they can actually have the option to print this lease if they'd like. Here we ask for credit card information. This stuff is all fake, so if you want to copy it down and try to use it, you can, but it won't work. And so we ask for credit card information to run the process. This is the final page of that process, the rental process. And again, this is all customizable. In this case, what we're doing here is we're sharing with the customer that they've actually rented the unit, and we're providing some information. This rental process is for a facility that actually has a kiosk. As you can see at the end, it says at our kiosk, select the complete move-in button, follow the prompts, receive your personal gate code, access the property, move in kind of thing. They can print their lease agreement, they can print their receipt, and they can close out. So at this point, the rental process is complete online. And again, if the consumer or if the operator has chosen to process and offer an access code at this time, it would be offered to them already. So they would have that. They would have their unit number at the same time, and then they could actually move into the property at will whenever they'd want to. So that's the online rental process that we put together today. What we think is going to happen in this industry is that self-service is going to continue to flourish. We've seen it with our self-service systems at the facilities. We've certainly learned more through our call center basis to understand the consumers and how they like to do business. Very soon we'll be renting units through our call center, as well as we think that consumers want to continue doing business online. And they may change and jump channels in different situations. We've seen that happen in the retail research that we've done, is they'll start working on one channel, let's say call you, and then they'll switch to a channel and maybe do self-service at the facility or come to the property and meet the manager kind of thing. So you have to make sure all these systems are integrated. All the data that's being presented at each one of your different touch points, be it a self-service kiosk, be it at the manager, be it online, be it over the phone, all have to be integrated and put together. So what we've done is we've continued to enhance our technology to work off the same structure that we have built with our self-service kiosks. So our online system and our call center all are integrated into the same databases and pull information from the same places. In the online section, we think that basically what's going to happen is that customers are going to want to do more than just rent a unit. And they're going to want to be able to service themselves in lots of fashions. And so we're taking everything that they can do on a self-service kiosk at the facility, which would include making payments, account management, getting access codes, updating contact information, providing move-out notices, merchandise purchase, all those things you can do today at a kiosk. Those are all being built into, we call INSOMNIAC Online. We'll probably rename it to something like Tenant Portal as we go along here. But the whole idea of renting units online, I think, as you start to think through when you're going to do it, probably is more likely than if you're going to do it, is to think of it in a bigger picture. Think of it bigger as more self-service for your tenants, allowing them to help themselves online and get a lot of things done versus just a rental process online. For example, one of the things that we're looking at doing, and don't tell our competitors, but the move-out notice we think is a very, very good opportunity to drive more business. And so what we're seeing is that, and we've heard from some of our operators, they've had some little special programs when someone wants to move out. They work real hard to keep that person by understanding why they're moving out. A lot of cases they don't get that opportunity, where you're always supposed to notify the self-storage operator when you move out. I believe it's part of people's leases. And so what we want to do is we want to provide that opportunity for them to do it online, have your management team already point them to the online functions to do that. And so when they do that, then we want to branch out and ask them some questions, such as why they're moving out, provide them some answers, some potential answers to that, and then react electronically to that. So let's say someone says, I'm moving out because I found a better price down the street. Well, our response through our system should be, we're going to offer you a 50% coupon or something along those lines to stay for the next month. And then the manager will have time to get back to that consumer, knowing that they actually got this coupon, get back to that consumer and customer, find out what they can do to keep them long term. Or they're going to say, I'm moving across town. Well, at that point, maybe there's a facility that you actually want to recommend to them, or prompt them with a link that they can actually rent the unit across town right now. And there's a few other little business practices we've learned that we're going to do during the move-out notice. So we see that that's going to explode. That kind of one little function of providing a move-out notice and then responding to that and taking positive, proactive action with that consumer online is going to really explode into what we can do for them. Merchant purchases, merchandise purchasing. We think there's a lot to be done there. We certainly sell stuff. We sell locks through our kiosks today. We believe that consumers, when they're online, may certainly want to actually buy some boxes and a few other things, have them stored in their unit. Some may want to actually have them sent to them, delivered to their house. Some may say, look, I want these things available when I come in. I want some tape. I want some boxes. I want a couple mattress wraps, all that kind of stuff, because we're going to drop off a few items, and I'll pick up all that stuff, and I'll go back and use those things when I'm moving. So we think selling merchandise online during these processes or just in general will be a great revenue enhancer for the self-storage properties. The next piece is after that, advertising. We think there's some great opportunities there too. As you have consumers and your customers are online at your portal, we want to be able to present them with some advertising that actually is set up, if you will, by the operator. This wouldn't be something where OpenTech comes in and gets a national ad with Coca-Cola and then tells you that we're going to use that space and we're going to get the advertising dollars. What we're doing is we're providing capabilities for you to advertise and co-advertise with people in your area. So let's say you may have realtors that want to be advertised to everybody that moves in, or every time somebody makes a payment, you want to advertise some carpet cleaning service to them. So we believe this portal will be a great advertising vehicle, and that will be all driven by the operator. So they'll put the agreements together with their local partners and can do their own revenue share. All we're doing is providing the mechanism for that advertising to be displayed and tracked. And again, not just advertising, you could probably sell products is what we're thinking to do too. Is you should be able to maybe click on an ad that you see in there and then order something. So you could actually order that carpet cleaning to come in, or fill out a form. Since we already have all your information, we just send that information off to the third party and say, hey, look, we're interested in getting our carpets cleaned, kind of deal. Truck rental is also something you have in the self-storage properties, and we're looking at a couple different ways to actually do that, or help people manage the truck they have that they allow people to use during rental time. So when you go into the rental process, why shouldn't you be able to reserve the truck? So that way when you come to do your stuff, that truck is available, or know what day the truck is available online versus having to call someone to get that information. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that we have up our sleeve. We've been innovating in this industry for many years and plan to continue. So the renting online pieces, I would ask you that as you think that through, and again, decide when, not if, don't just think of it as renting online. Think of it as all these other services that are going to come with it, because what you have to do is you have to build the behavior of your customers and consumers to come to your site. And once you start building that through the rental process and the payment process, they'll start finding that there's a lot of other value in logging into your site to do other things. So you get that repeat eyeball, and you continue to do things like survey them. You know, one of the things I don't have on here, which I should, is anytime they make a payment, you should be asking them two very important questions. You know, one of those, would you recommend us to any of your friends for a referral program? And two is there any issues you have with our property that they can actually fill in and provide that information to you? So the whole idea is build the behavior of the consumer to continue to interact with you on your website. Our company is going to provide the ways to do that and the functions for you to be able to provide value to the consumer to do that kind of thing. And these are just some of those. So the last one is basically we have a drawing board around here and a whiteboard that we put a lot of things on, and then we erase them. Those are what we call our secret services. So there's ideas that we're hatching that are above and beyond what we have here that we're going to be building into this, if you will, tenant portal per se. So with that, I wanted to...
I'm sorry, we have another question that just came in. Let me get this for you. My prices are higher than the competition. Should I display my prices online, or do prospects buy prices, not features? My features and salesmanship is better than the competition, but does the online prospect care?
That's an excellent question. I'll start by saying that I remember when Joe Schoen, he's the chairman and CEO of U-Haul, gave a presentation at the Missouri Self-Storage Show at the Ozarks, and I'm going to say it was now 5 years ago. Joe's a Harvard graduate, Harvard business graduate, and he said that he felt like the advent of the online, basically having websites and having all the information online, the internet, I guess is how he said it, is going to bring price visibility regardless if we like it or not. And Joe said, let me tell you, I don't like it. So I feel your pain in the sense that you have a product that's better than the one down the street, so you're charging more for it. And I do believe that it'll be a little more difficult to present the value that you have in their product online, but I think it can certainly be done. While I believe that managers have been phenomenal salespeople, I think if we can learn how to use these web pages to do more interactive multimedia things, you know, provide some. One of the things I love about videos is you can dress your property up very prettily, do the video, and it always looks the same. Where when someone comes on the property and has your manager sell them on it, it doesn't. Maybe it's not always in its best pristine condition. So the value of competing for business on the internet is that you can actually create a really good presentation and a really good picture of your property, really highlight the amenities you have that the others don't, and you never have to worry about being said at the counter. It's repeated all the time. It's a consistent process. So I would suggest, yes, you're going to have to present your prices online, or you're going to be overlooked just like you do when you look at any kind of, if you've ever been house shopping, ask yourself how many houses you went to look for that didn't have the price posted when you're, when you're looking at the ads. I think that will answer your question. But I do believe that there's hope for you. I believe that a better product can be presented online in a lot of different fashion. There's we're doing a lot with two-way video these days, and I think you're going to find that one of our secret services is going to be two-way video on the internet. Is that same salesmanship can be displayed and can be done through a live video with the consumer when they're on their web page. I also think that there's a lot of ways to highlight the amenities you have and point out the advantages you have that the others don't. You know, I think I've been hearing some people have been doing, they do things like charge for you to make a payment over the phone if you do that. In certain places like that where you find that something that you don't do, you know, you want to make sure you're looking for those kind of competitive advantages and highlight them, and you can do that. Because I don't think we really have a choice, guys. I don't think that the world's going to stop and consumers are going to change because it doesn't fit our model. They're going to continue to use the internet more and more to get information and to make decisions. I think that if you promote the people to call you too, either through special pricing or things like that, that will give you an opportunity to give a better presentation of your property if you have some amenities that you want to highlight. So it's because people do change channels, as we talked about, as long as you're consistent. So if someone's on your web page and they're looking at something and they have questions, if they can easily contact someone to give them a presentation about, you know, your property, I think you're in good shape. Maybe the thing you should do is get out there and be bold and say, you know, our prices are higher because we're better. Call us to find out why, kind of thing. I think that if you don't hide from it sometimes and you make it a reason why people should talk to you, I think you have an opportunity. So that's probably a long answer to your question, but I think that the simple answer is yes, you're going to have to present your prices. All you have to do, I think, is focus on how to present the value of your property as well. And consumers, I think, are certainly still looking for value. They're not all just about price, because especially since I think we've been hearing a lot of the people in storage have used storage before. I think Extra Space quotes 50% of the people that rent with them have rented storage before. And so they know some of the downsides of storage properties that aren't in the quality maybe of the higher priced ones. And so if you can focus on those things, I think you can be very successful at it. So I think our next slide is questions. If we have any more, Poppy, we'll be happy to answer them. You can certainly, people can certainly come to our website or contact OpenTech if they want to learn more about our INSOMNIAC Online service. However, I will tell you there are other companies out there that are providing similar services. I certainly welcome you to look at all those places. One of those that we know is called the Store Group. They're a click and store product. And there's some web developers that will do some similar stuff that is custom for you. You know, I think that the thing you got to do is make sure when you're looking at these services that you kind of remember what we talked about and make sure that they have the offerings that that we presented. Make sure you protect their fraud and a few other things. But you should go look and you should learn, because I don't believe things are going to change. I think we're going to have to learn more how to do business online. And if you'd also remember that when I say online, I still again believe that the internet is the largest self-service platform in the world. And so not only will they do business online on the internet, I think they'll also do business at your facility, helping themselves. And hence, I think that you can also find value in self-service kiosks. That's my end of my commercial.
We do have a few more questions, and certainly if you have any questions, now would be the time to submit them. First one up is, what is two-way videoing?
What we've done is we've created some video technology that when you come to, today we're usually on a self-service kiosk. When you come to a kiosk, the first thing the system says is we'd like to talk to a live person, or we'd like to talk to a person. And what happens is that there's a spot on the kiosk screen on the monitor that actually a window that shows yourself standing in front of the machine, and a second window that actually shows the self-storage counselor in our call center. So you have full visibility to the person that you're talking to and interact with them in a two-way video manner. They can see you, you can see them. And we think that that two-way video is going to bring a lot more personal touch to the transaction at the facility, certainly have a lot more sticking power with the consumers. So that technology we don't believe will be limited to a kiosk. We're going to be bringing that to the internet, and when we do, we think it's going to be pretty radical, because it's not really even happening out. I mean, self-storage hasn't just been the leader in technology, and if you check it out, it's not happening very much yet, you know, outside of self-storage. But I would suggest you go to Land's End. You go to landsend.com. You'll see, when you're looking down there, search on the bottom left corner, you'll see video chat, and it's similar to what we're going to do, but we're not going to have you open a different window and all kinds of other things. Our technology actually is better than that. And what we're going to do is have video that, so when someone's on your website, they can be connected with one of our storage counselors, and at some point it's going to be anybody, maybe one of your managers or whatever. Currently we're doing it with our storage counselors because the technology is pretty difficult and complex, and so we want to set it up ourselves. And so they click on it, and all of a sudden up comes a live person on the screen and walks them through the process and has a conversation with them. Very much like we're doing today, except I could see all of you. So I hope you're all done.
Another question in regards to two-way videoing, what if you are not a 24-hour operation with a person to talk live on a two-way video?
Sure. Well, that's why, first of all, we're not a 24-hour operation either. You know, we certainly have self-service systems that do work 24 hours. We think there's a window of opportunity that you may not necessarily be interested in, and you don't have to be. But our call center actually currently today is the one providing the back-end service for the two-way video. And again, we're doing it because the technology isn't that portable at this point. We're also learning an awful lot about what it takes to do it, what that person needs to know that's on the other side of the phone. as far as about your information about your property, all that kind of stuff. Because during that two-way video process, the storage counselor can actually control the kiosk, or in this case, will be able to control the web page that you're on too, to help the consumer get through the process if they need to. So we're learning an awful lot by doing it with self-service kiosks, and we expect to take that to the web page, and then we expect to take it from having our storage counselor do it to allowing storage operators to do it themselves.
Okay, next question is, what are your thoughts about online chat support for leasing online?
I guess sometimes I'm not good at picking winners and losers in horse races. I thought eBay was going to be a fad, and I thought online chat would be phenomenal. I was about 15 years ago when it first came out. I was in Chicago working and went to meet a company, and the president of the company and I wanted to try to invest, buy, or work for his organization because he had this thing called online chat. I thought it was going to be the next biggest thing. And of course, it really hasn't turned out to be that way. There's lots of operators that offer it. We actually offer that service here for our customers, and it's very, very minimally used. Very surprisingly so. Everybody thought online chat was going to be the way of the future, but we've seen very little interaction on them. A lot of times it's customer service questions or it's customer service complaints. And so I think it's something you offer. I think it's something you should probably think real hard about how much you're willing to pay for it and track how what you do if nobody uses it, because you have to have someone there all the time. So there is a service cost to that, but you have to measure that with what the value is. It's almost like saying, I don't want a kiosk or something like that. I'm just going to have a manager there 16 hours a day. I think that's a great idea if you can afford it. But I don't think that if nobody shows up, for 8 of those hours, or one person does, it may not pay for itself. So same with live chat. You have to measure, but our experiences hasn't been very, very effective.
Next question, I believe, is talking about the online process that you've been talking about. How would this interface with SiteLink, standalone software, and Digigate?
Our online version, which is unique to everybody else's, is based upon the technology we've been using for kiosks for years. And so we use the same technology to interface to all the property managed systems that our kiosks work for. And that's all the leading systems out there. And that would include SiteLink Web, SiteLink PC, CenterShift, Taskmaster, even some of the ones that aren't being supported anymore. Empower Software, boy, I don't want to leave anybody out. Sirisoft, Sentinel, and if I did, I apologize. Everything that we actually interface to with our self-service systems at the facility, the kiosks, these are our online system interfaces as well. And those systems are the ones that interface to your gate system. So we go back to the nucleus, the brain of your operation, which is your property management system, and we tell them that we've moved in a person, or a person's made a payment, or something of that nature, and then that system then interfaces to the gate system like it normally would if the manager was telling SiteLink that somebody moved in. So we don't really interface to the gate system directly. We don't have to. The property management system does that. But our online system already works with all the leading property management systems, and again has been proven and tested with kiosk use for years.
Okay, it looks like that is the last of our questions. Anyone that has additional questions, please submit them here before we sign off, and Robert will be more than happy to answer them to you once the webinar is concluded. We'd like to thank everyone for attending, and we certainly hope we've provided you with some useful information to assist you with your self-storage operations. You will be receiving an email within the next few days. It will have a link to the archived presentation, so make sure you watch your inbox for this email. And we'd like to thank you again for attending, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you, Robert, for another great presentation.
Oh, thank you.